what's going on, everybody? You are watching the Jets Report by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, we're going to discuss the multiple roster moves that the Jets have made over the past 24 hours. And then the second half of today's show, a lot of negativity around the New York Jets, obviously, the worst football team in the NFL. But I do want to highlight two hidden gems they have defensively that could be building blocks for the future. But let's start off with the roster moves here. Defensive tackle Leonard Taylor III was released in a bit of a shocker. Leonard Taylor did show some pop during the preseason. I thought he should put some good film out there on tape, but the Jets ended up cutting ties with him. And why he was released? He was just slipping down the defensive tackle depth chart. I think after they traded for Jawan Briggs, you brought in Harrison Phillips. You have other young defensive tackles stepping up, so it does make sense that they wanted to move on. And he's only played 47 snaps this season, which is probably right. I mean, the Jets are pretty solid still on the defensive line. And, after the Garrett Wilson injury and also Josh Reynolds popping up on the injury report this week, you need to make move for another wide receiver to be elevated to this active roster. And that guy will probably be Trenton Irwin. He was signed to the practice squad for the New York Jets. And Trenton Irwin, he had a great 2023 season. He was a great piece for that Bengals offense with Joe Burrow, had a pretty damn good connection with them. And in that 2023 season, he was solid. 25 catches, going for 316 yards, 12.6 yards per catch. Did find the end zone one time. And, this guy's actually a solid wide receiver. He's more of that possession, almost feels like a bigger Cole Beasley-esque receiver. But I will say, this guy, he ran a 4.6 40, but he's definitely got more pop than that. And back in that 2023 season, he had a solid connection with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow was throwing him like back shoulder throws. They were taking shots down the field with him. He was running a deep post. He does have a very he runs a lot of routes on the route tree. Like, he's not just like a one-trick pony. You can line him in the slot. You can line him up outside. So I actually will say I like this pickup of him. There weren't too many good wide receiver options out there in free agency. So I like this pickup of Trent Irwin. And, like I was saying, he only ran a 4.64 40-yard dash, but he feels a lot faster than that when he was out there on the football field because when I was going out there and just watching his highlights before we were filming today's show, I had to look up how fast his 40 was because I was going to assume it was in like the 4.5, 4 range, but he only ran a 4.64. So I kind of like that he looks a lot faster out there on the football field. And I fully believe he will be called up to the active roster, maybe even earlier than the actual game day on Sunday, but he will for sure be out there. I honestly think he's probably going to get some solid reps for this Jets offense this week, especially if Josh Reynolds can't go. I mean, you look around that wide receiver room, no Garrett Wilson, no Josh Reynolds. Like, who's going to step up? It's going to be Arian Smith. It could be Dylan. It could be myself. It could be anybody playing wide receiver for the Jets. So I do expect Trenton Irwin to make an impact. But overall, I hope Mason Taylor and Arian Smith get a lot more involved in this offense. Like, even though injuries are bad, but this does allow an opportunity to some of the younger guys on the roster. So Trenton Irwin, I like that pickup, but they also ended up releasing Avery Williams from the practice squad. No big shocker there. You just got to make room for more guys on the P squad. So the Jets could make another move here, sign another guy to the practice squad. I'm assuming it's going to be another wide receiver, especially if this Josh Reynolds injury does keep him out for this Week 7 matchup against the Carolina Panthers. But he's actually going to be rocking number 38 for the Jets in this game. So if you guys want to show Trenton Irwin some love, type his jersey number, type those 38s down below. A white wide receiver wearing number 38 kind of has some aura to it. So if you guys want to show Trenton Irwin some love, type those 38s down below in the comment section. I'm excited to see him play. This guy's a playmaker. He's a dog. He's got some good energy around him. So I'm definitely excited to see him go out there and make some plays for this Jets offense. Now we'll talk about the two hidden gems here on the Jets defense here in a second. But before we do so, I got to give a big-time shout-out to today's presenting sponsor, that being PrizePicks. Now, you and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss any of the excitement this football season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. And if you guys download the PrizePicks app today, plug in promo code CLNS will hook you guys up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, PrizePicks has a brand new feature called Stacks, meaning you can pick up to the same player 3 times in the same lineup. So, for example, if you guys want to take more on Josh Allen's pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns, now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. But they also have another new feature, and it's the feed tab on PrizePicks, where you guys can now follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app, copy their lineups in just one click, whether it's a friend, celebrity, or just someone's picks who you like. Hit the follow button and check out every single lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. So download the PrizePicks app today, plug in that promo code CLNS, and we'll hook you guys up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. But shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. All right, so the two hidden gems on the Jets defense. We're going to start off with the linebacker Kiko, fourth rounder out of Miami. He put on some really good tape out there this past week against the Denver Broncos, and then also we'll talk about Jarvis Brownlee Jr. as why that trade was a complete steal for this Jets front office. But let's start off here with Kiko. So Kiko posted a 86.3 PFF grade this past weekend in playing 50 snaps. He was pretty damn good in coverage as well, but mainly he was great in the run support. He had 5 tackles, 0 missed tackles. He was shooting gaps at a very high level, and I do like the energy he brings. Like, he is a very, contagious feel around him, where when he's making plays, he's getting up, bringing some energy to this defense, and I think obviously the Jets needed a linebacker to step up with Quincy, on short-term IR, and also McCrary Ball not playing, so I like the way Kiko's been playing out there. Obviously, the Jets were so bad against the run during the first couple of weeks of the season, but they're pretty damn good against the Denver Broncos this past week, and I think we can give a lot of credit for that success to a guy like Kiko. But Kiko also had a pretty cool quote talking about his development so far in the NFL, saying, getting to learn from Quincy and Sherwood and Leno, McCrary Ball, being able to pick their brains and how they see the game has helped speed up the process for me. So I'm blessed to be able to be around those guys and just learn from them and learn the game of football and understand that I am never alone out there. I love that quote. I love that positive energy because obviously Jets 0-6. This guy's bringing some positivity to the team. And, one positive, even though the Jets are 0-6, this rookie draft class from this past season does look very promising. Like Armand Membu, he looks like a home run pick, should be the franchise right tackle. Mason Taylor, I think he's going to end up, once he gets more involved, be one of the more premier tight ends in the league. And then I still got faith in a guy like Arian Smith. I like Malachi Moore. Haven't really seen AZ Thomas too much, but hey, if a guy like Kiko is playing some good football, that could be huge for this draft class. So you could potentially have 5 starters from this past 2025 draft class. So shout out to Darren Mougey, even though his free agency moves weren't, the best, with giving Justin Fields that contract, giving Brandon Stevens that contract. I will say at least him in the, draft market and in the trade market, he has been pretty solid in just 1 year being the Jets GM. But let's talk about that trade market here. And probably the best trade that Darren Mougey has made as the GM of the New York Jets. You're able to acquire Jarvis Brownlee Jr. and a 7th-round pick, and you only had to give up a 2026 6th-round pick. Now, why I was such a fan of this move when it immediately happened is Tennessee Titans fans were saying, what the hell are we doing? Why are we just giving away Jarvis Brownlee Jr. for absolutely nothing? And as we know, this guy is one of the best run defenders at the cornerback position in the NFL. But more specifically, this past weekend against Denver, this guy was fantastic in coverage. He had a 90.4 coverage grade, and he did allow 5 receptions. But since he is such a good tackler, those 5 receptions only went for 22 yards. Now, he also had 6 tackles. Did have 2 missed tackles in this game, so he had a missed tackle rate of 25%. But he played 41 snaps, had a solid coverage grade. He was actually the highest graded PFF defender for the New York Jets this past weekend. So obviously the Jets, they were struggling a lot against the run. So you bring in a nickel outside corner hybrid like Jarvis Brownlee is to be a lot better in the run fit game. And then also, Kiko making a big impact as well. But I absolutely love this move. Not only is this going to get the Jets better this year, but he is still a young guy, 24 years old. So he could be, potentially a starting nickel of the future once they, let go of Michael Carter, who, did struggle early on this season. So I love this pickup. And even though the Jets 0-6, not looking good, there are still a bunch of young players on this team that have been performing well. Obviously, the Jets don't have an incredibly young roster, but just a couple of pieces here that could be key building blocks for this team moving forward. But let me ask you guys this. Because Darren Mougey, I think he's been kind of all over the map as a GM. Like I was saying, did not love his free agency moves so far. Even just giving Tony Adams a 1-year, $3 million deal, that was terrible. Brandon Stevens, that contract's bad. The Justin Fields contract is bad. But his draft class is looking pretty promising right now. He's made 3 pretty damn good trades for Harrison Phillips, Jawan Briggs, and Jarvis Brownlee. So I'll ask you guys this. Great Darren Mougey as the Jets GM. I probably have to give him B-, C+ around that range right now. Still at the end of the day, you're 0-6, but I don't think he is, the biggest reason for that. So you guys let me know your thoughts down below. Great Darren Mougey as the Jets GM, and we'll get on out of here. Appreciate all of you guys watching today's show. As always, go Jets.